Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Citizen Feed, a podcast for all your Star Citizen needs, guys. This is now, I think, episode 8. So thank you to everyone that's joined in on our podcast and all the feedback and comments and stuff that you've provided. We're very thankful. So thank you so much. I'm Mozsta69 down here in Sydney, in Australia. We've got Delta X85 over there as per usual, and the man of mystery from Stanton himself. Above me is Acerimmer. And as usual, guys, we've got different segments in the podcast. We start off with the week in review, then we look at the CIG media releases, and then we talk about ships and lore and anything else that's on our mind. So, as per usual, we'll start off with the week in review. Ace?
Yeah, I'll just kick it off with a little report on what I have been doing this week, and it was mainly during the week. It was mainly like PvP. I'll admit I have been PvP a lot.
Naughty boy, you griefer.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I've got footage. We weren't griefing, but we claimed PO for us.
Oh, nice.
And I think we destroyed a total of 12 to 15 ships. I don't know, man, about that number.
Holy cow, dude. Okay.
Man, the Hurricane is badass right now. you got 1,000 rounds in that turret if you use 4 Panther repeaters.
Jeez.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah, you don't need to stop shooting. Like,
wow.
The capacitors are powerful enough to like recharge them in 10 seconds. You're completely recharged. So that kills.
Noted.
So obviously 2 people in the Hurricane, right? You need someone in the turret.
Oh yeah. It's useless without the turret gunner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit clumsy. It still maneuvers good, but it's not like it's not an arrow or a talon.
Yeah.
It's a big boat, right? But yeah, the pilot has 2 guns. You can either have 2 size 3 gimbals or 2 size 4, so it's pretty hefty in itself. But that turret just kills everything. It's
wow,
really sick,
man. It's good to see the Hurricane have its moment as well. I'm sure Hurricane.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So blockade, nice. Ace, remember blockade on Porto this week?
We had to try.
He's like, we weren't griefing. We just had a blockade on Porto. We killed anyone in sight. I'm kidding, dude.
No, we challenged people. We challenged them and told them, if you come to PO, we'll open fire. Just don't. And
nice.
They were like,
there's a difference between blockading it and because we've done that before too. But there's a difference in blockading it and warning people than just pad ramming and shooting missiles and blowing people's ships up. That's absolutely griefing and ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
We weren't shooting the people on the pad either. We were waiting for them to get out, get into the ship, and then engage.
Yeah, because those are the type of players you want to physically abuse.
Yeah. Was that it, Ace, for the week? Sounds like an exciting week.
No, it wasn't. Actually, yesterday I've been doing the Ninetales thing, you know?
Oh, nice.
It finally worked out, and...
Any glitches?
To the end? Did it finish?
Actually, not a single glitch. It just was decent as fucked. Like, it must have been all that Widow, you know? But otherwise, pretty cool. We blew up an Idris last night, so
yeah,
successful. Also flying the Hurricane.
Oh, that'd be nice against an Idris.
That's
what it's designed for, isn't it? It's what it's designed to tear apart capital ships, or
well, not really.
Oh.
I mean, it took forever. We had help of others, of course, but if we had been alone, I don't think you can actually take down an Idris.
Oh no, I didn't mean it that way. Yeah, I meant like a fleet of Hurricanes. They're kind of designed to take down.
Effective.
Yeah. Of course, not alone. That would be silly.
We tried though. All right, what have you guys been up to? And don't say admin.
Definitely admin, but I also I dabbled into 314 a little this week. IRL has actually been much busier than normal, and I spent a lot of time recruiting players. So for me, it's been rough, man. 314 is actually, I mean, it's getting better, but the first week of it has been brutal. For me, at least, I had 4 character resets, 4 ship claim issues by the time they got around to actually fixing that. Then several times I was trying different loops to test and see what's the most profitable way to make money, because that's the first thing that new players ask, and I bring in a lot of new players. We've pretty much built a community of new players, so that's the first thing they want to know: what's the most profitable, what's the most efficient way to make money. So I'll test those things out, and to be honest with you, they have murdered the ability to make money compared to the way we were before, because there was a loop or a situation with mining that when you went to refining, you could dupe your orders up to 16 times. They've taken that out now. So mining is pointless. It's a waste of time if you're going for efficiency. Now, I know Maz, I know your philosophy on the whole thing about enjoying the game, but that's what majority of the players want that are new. Like, I don't have enough money to put into this game in real life. I want to buy a ship. What price point do I need? What do you want to do? You know, etc.
Yeah.
So we actually did see maybe Tuesday. We fully crewed 2 hammerheads and had a buccaneer that was crewed. Did the Idris mission, but when we fully crewed the 2 hammerheads, we crashed the server. As soon as we were fully loaded leaving Everest Harbor, we all 30K'd. So I don't know if we set that in motion, because our party had maybe 22 of the positions in the server. Then we actually cleared out that server, and getting all those people in there that came in late by telling everyone in the server chat that if you're a PvE player, you probably want to leave now, and they started bailing out. But we were successful in fighting the Idris. Took a bit of time. You know, you have to dabble around with it a little bit, and its health pool is pretty extensive. But we were successful. FYI, you cannot share that mission with more than like 8 people. So even with having 2 fully crewed hammerheads, everybody wasn't even able to participate in accepting the mission. It just doesn't show up after a certain number. I think that number is 8 or 9, and it's not 10. So I went mining a couple of days. Quantanium is much harder to find now. I think I wound up trying to mine a couple days, wound up maybe finding 70 SEUs on 2 different sessions. There was another player that found an exploit where there was one servant's under surveillance mission or some situation like that, where it would automatically load up as soon as you finished, and you never had to leave, and you could kill the 7 NPCs within, say, less than 5 minutes. You get 20K each time, but it only loads up that way when you have 1 player, so you can't have 2. I don't know if it's still that way, because I didn't play yesterday. We tested that out Friday. So that's pretty much the extent of my gameplay time. The highlight was fully crewing 2 hammerheads, which was absolutely amazing. Bit of hurdles to get through, especially with personalities. At one point, I just had to tell everybody to shut up, and only certain people could talk. Because, I mean, dude, you got like 14 to 16 players in there that's trying to talk, and then no one's. Everybody thinks it's their time to talk.
Yeah.
every time another
Yeah.
person shuts us.
Discord shenanigans. Yeah.
But as far as 3.14, I was very disappointed in the initial launch. But this was my first transition from one patch to another, so I got really frustrated with it. But now that I know that this is essentially how it happens at the beginning of every patch, I know what to expect now, and it is getting better. I played yesterday or Friday for like 3 hours, and had a 130K at the end of my session, which wasn't too bad, and no claim issues. But I've had three character resets. I think it was three, maybe
Cool,
four.
man.
I can't remember. So
Yeah.
many others. But what you been up to, Moss?
So a little bit of everything. I've been practicing some Arena Commander, doing some PvP in there, which is always fun. Always get to see who the good pilots are. I kind of know them by name, and they're very good. So I get to play against them, and I find the Arena Commander type of combat is a bit different to the combat you do in the PU. But we'll talk about that later on in the show, because we're going to talk more about Arena Commander. It was in one of the videos. So I did that. Did a mining trip, which was funny because at the end of it, I think it was just so there's so many bugs that the interface that we were using was just turning off and on. So we had no idea how much power we were transferring to a rock, and then it ended up exploding, spinning our mole like a rag doll until we died. So that was fun. And then I haven't had the honor of doing a Ninetales yet. I've been in the verse during the week, not on the weekend. So I learned that Ninetales was mainly on the weekend. So, I haven't done Ninetales yet. I've missed out on the event, even though I played 3 days a week. So looking forward to maybe after today's podcast jumping in and seeing if I can get some Ninetales action happening. But a lot of problems, a lot of desync. But then there's all this good stuff that I like the combat system changes. I like the nerfing of the ships and stuff in regards to pitch and yaw and things like that. But, fingers crossed it'll get better and better.
You know what I did do with that mole, with their nerfing of everything? They nerfed the space break on that. Now, granted, I do feel that it shouldn't have been as maneuverable as it was in 3.13, but I have blown up the mole twice, thinking that I can haul ass everywhere I go, and then space break will save me. But space break takes like 5,000 kilometers to slow that thing down now.
Yeah, it's a brick, and it should fly like a brick.
And it does now. It does now.
That's what happens if you drive a truck like a Ferrari.
That's a perfect analogy for the way I fly.
So that sums up the weekend review, guys. Let's switch on to CIG media releases. This week, or last week, we had two videos. We had the US PU team starring in the Star Citizen Live video. I'll go through some of the stuff. So it was featuring Rob Reininger, who was assistant director. He got promoted recently, if my memory serves me correctly. We got Chad McKinney and Ben Dorsey, who are Ben's a senior system designer, and these guys were all, systems and features type team and engineer. So I will hand it over to you, Delta. What were your big takeouts?
Thing that interested me the most is how much they the segment where they talked about the incoming capabilities with us being able to sell and exchange certain items.
Yep.
And then the implications for certain systems. So right now, you guys know, because I was harping on this issue last week, being able as a player to have effect on the economy and control is going to push my way the way I would like to see it with different systems. Say Pyro is not going to have as much NPC involvement which I'm pretty excited about. I don't want to see that much influence as far as, you know, UEE and their fucked up situation, and being able to player transactions is also a part of that economy, and being able to see that come in game is much more inspiring than where I was with it last week. Like, God, I can't do this 90-10 split. You know, for being a player, like, people ask me, what are you into? Are you into PvP or PvE? I'm into PvE/PvP, but I like to use the economy more so than anything else, because I like to manipulate economies and market manipulation. And that is my most interesting, or the thing that intrigues me the most, rather, in every MMO. So I honestly don't want to mine. I don't want to PvP, but I am going to do PvE and PvP through market manipulation.
Yeah. So wait, did you get the sense that it's not 90-10 now? Is that what you're saying from this video?
I got the sense from that, and granted, they were very broad on a lot of things because they don't get into too much specificity with these shows, especially if it's something they're working on that's going to come out later. I felt like in systems, say like Pyro, there was going to be less influence from, you know, the NPC side, and with the law system especially. So that's going to open up a lot of other dynamics that I feel that we're going to be able to influence the economic side of it. Just for instance, let's say in Pyro, we already know there's not going to be a lot of stations to fuel up at.
Yep.
So that's going to create an economic loop for players to be able, players and orcs, to go in like a gold rush and sell fuel with your refueling ships. That's one aspect of being able to play into that economy. Now, will we necessarily have a situation with a trade post, quote unquote, where we can list items and manage that, manipulate the economy? No, I didn't get that. But some of the aspects that they're going to bring in, and when new systems open, I feel like that we're going to have more opportunity, as opposed to, say, Stanton, or they alluded to the Terror system being more influenced. So
yeah,
I'm pretty excited about that. Plus the persistent hangers. I know that was a huge benefit to you guys in the past, being able to log in and go straight to your hanger, as opposed to starting off on Lureville and having to go through Lureville and then get your ship and fly out of atmosphere, because that's the way it worked for you guys back then, wasn't it?
that was before my time.
Oh wow.
Before my time.
Yeah, I know. Like, the personal hangers that you go into now are just their own instance, but I think the persistent hangers, which are different to personal hangers, you can put your cargo in, which is really cool. You can store your cargo in. He even said you can rent it out, and it's kind of instance, but it's not, type thing. So it's going to have a spaceport that it lives in. Let's say Delta, yours is in New Babbage, and you always use hangar door number 9, for example, to access it. So in your brain, that's my hangar. Hangar number 9 is my hangar. But there might be another 1,000 players that use hangar number 9 as their access to their hangar as well. Is how I understood.
No, you're right. You're right. So I was assuming that in the past, hearing about the personal hangers, I thought that was them also bringing that back, as that's what it was, like
Right.
that, the persistent hanger. That information I did get, but so I was thinking that, but like you said, your hanger might be hanger 9. I thought that's the way it worked in the past with personal hangers too.
Yeah, no.
So,
Actually, I'm not even going to comment because it's before my time. I know that before I joined, there was no even Lawville, so it was just like Porto. So I don't know what the hell they did back in the old days. But yeah, so let me just round it up, Ace, and then I'll throw it to you. So a lot of things that they spoke about, like at a very high level, it seems they spoke about a lot of big things coming together. Like you have the looting system that they were talking about, then you got physicalized cargo that they're talking about, and then you got hangars now, and it's all these things meeting at the center, if you like, and hopefully, producing more gameplay loops and stuff. It's all wait and see and hope and fingers crossed and all that sort of stuff. But so cargo and physicalized cargo is something that they're keen to get happening. So you track the beam on and off. Interesting thing for me that kind of summed it up about whether this game, like, I never say this game's PvE or PvP, right? I say it's PvX. That's Star Citizen. It's PvX.
Fair enough.
Right? And nothing more like nailed it when the guy, one of the questions to, I forgot who it was maybe Chad or Ben, I forgot. They said, so what's going to stop another player as we're loading and offloading cargo using tractor beams, which could take a long time? Who's going to protect us from people just coming in and stealing our stuff and
wrecking your fucking day?
Yeah. And there was a two sort of sided answer. One of the developers said, well, this is Star Citizen. You need to go and hire help, for security, which is kind of a very PvP answer, isn't it? It's like, if you don't have friends to watch your back, you're going to get robbed. And then the other guy jumped in and sort of said, whoa, I don't think a lot of people are going to like that answer, but the way that we've designed the hangar and its location is going to make it harder for just random people to run in anyway, type thing. So it was it was a funny Star Citizen PvP PvE battle even between the two devs.
Amongst the devs, yeah. So the one guy, he said, and he will say this in the other video that we watched for the week, that PvP gives him anxiety. Yeah. So you guys, we that is an issue in this game. It is what I call Care Bears, because the Care Bears, they actually get to a point to where when you start talking about PvP, they cannot separate PvP in their brain from griefing. Like, they're totally the same. But they also treat you in game or in Discord or any type of communication you're having with them as if you are a real life, low life fucking criminal and that you're highly immoral. It's crazy how some of these PvE players get into their self-righteous behavior. It's actually disgusting, to be honest with you.
I got blocked on Spectrum by some dude because he was shouting out that he was gonna be super rich with the new loops he found. And I told him, if you shout stuff like that in Spectrum, you're the first one to get robbed. And that got me a block on his side. So, okay.
Jeez.
Was a friendly warning, man.
Yeah.
It's fair.
That's a bit sensitive on his side.
Well, to be fair, I might have told him I'll be the first one to rob him, but you get the point.
But I will say this. I do hope that they are going to focus on balancing the prices. No, that's not something that they directly identified. They have got to balance. Cargo hauling is pointless, dude. I mean, yep. They have got to get in, and now that 3.14's come in, and start looking at these prices and what we're making on certain things. Now, I'm not saying that, you need to make $768K in 1 hour, which I've done with bounties. That's a bit unbalanced. No, I'm not gonna say that that's okay, because I did that in 3.13, but it needs to be worth it. So if you're going out Quantanium mining, say, and you come back and you've had 2 to 3 people, and I've gotten to where I don't want to take any other crew other than one person. I would rather fly the ship and do one of the arms than waste the time to only have something divided up by 3 or 4, and now you're getting less in return. But it's very disappointing, because then you got to log back in and you got to take that cargo and you got to sell that cargo. So there's more time involved with that, along with, say, bounties are more difficult now. So it's almost to the point where every single thing you do in this game now, which is cool, you have to multi-crew. That's what I do like that aspect of it. Like you see more activity in the main Discord for Star Citizen, people requesting help, people wanting help. But all I can say to the devs is, guys, when you're working on these things, you have got to balance for efficiency. So let's calculate the amount of time people are putting into loops, especially like Quantanium mining. To be honest with you, I think Quantanium mining should render you a higher yield in Alpha UEC than Bell needs to do. That's just my personal opinion.
Sure. Yep.
And cargo's got to be fixed, and I know they're working on that.
That'll all happen.
That's the thing. A lot of those balancing passes and whatnot will not make real sense before they got the other systems halfway established, and like the whole cargo thing, for example, will be completely new once we get the physical cargo in. Will work in a completely different way. There's no more magic spawning of stuff on your ship. You'll have to put it in there and have people help you to get it loaded faster and such. Maybe later on you'll have like either NPC AIs that will be rented and help out loading your ship, or maybe even robots or whatnot, or
I mean,
loading robots.
So the physicalized cargoes is insane. Like, I can't wait to see
Indeed.
it. Like seeing, and they talk about, you know, cargo snapping into place like Lego blocks, or, you know, kind of like that type thing. So like, that's going to be nuts, man. And then taking cargo off a ship, putting it on, and maybe someone coming and stealing it. It's just going to be like an operation. It's just an operation.
Yeah. You're going to need security.
Yeah, it's just a huge operation. And then the looting system and the cargo grid, like the items you get from the looting they spoke about, and the cargo grids are, you know, integrating. So, you know, things you loot, you can put on your cargo grid and then obviously sell it and stuff like that.
I mean, this also opens up the opportunity for the first actual real pirate gameplay.
Yeah.
Apart from extortion, because now you can deactivate a ship, and even if you blow it up, some of the cargo will be left floating outside. You can pick it up and try to sell it or whatever and use it for yourself. All that stuff was needed.
Man, I'm imagining a pirate. I'm imagining this: a pirate successfully, you know, disabling a caterpillar, and then he has to bring like 2 or 3 guys and another caterpillar so he can start offloading onto it, right? So it's like this operation, and then in the middle of his stealing, another pirate comes along and takes his stuff.
Calls for help. That's also not that you have the time to call for help and have some buddies coming in, and that's the player created content you always talk about, Delta.
This right here is a perfect opportunity. Not that I'm transitioning into the next video, but from the subject that you're on with this video, the USPU feature team, the next video, which is the PvE PvP sort of thing.
Yeah.
First off, let me say this: for those Care Bears, those PvE players that are self-righteous and enjoying the game, and your whole entire org and all of your group, that's all you want to do. Let me explain something to you. Your days are truly numbered. Now, we're not a griefing org. Our sights are only going to be set on UEE player-created orgs and the NPCs. And those individuals that decide to get on our KOA list by fucking with us. Outside of that, we're not going to be griefing. But you need to understand something, that once server meshing comes in and once other loops are introduced that allow piracy, there's a reason to PvP at that point. This game is going to get flooded with PvP players. And when that happens, those orgs that are only specializing in, say, only PvE, and we only recruit players that are into PvE, you're done. Like, it's going to be over, because you're going to get those griefing players that come in and substantially shift the population, which I would say, if I had to identify a number and just catch one arbitrarily, it's probably in the 90% range of PvE versus PvP. There's not many PvP players in here. So all the toxic players that are truly, truly toxic, and those individuals that want to focus on PvP, there's nothing for them to do in this game right now. But when server meshing comes in, when they get these loops refined, when piracy is able to be a thing, understand you're going to need some sort of defense. So if you're going to focus on PvE and solely, you're going to need to hire some mercenaries or get some players in your group that focus on PvP. Because if you don't practice for it now, you're not going to be able to do it in the future.
I somewhat agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel I'm not. You know, I'm a PvEer and I'm a PvXer. Let's put it that way. But I see the game. You're having great advantages of having friends in the verse. Great advantages. Let's put it that way. I think that's.
But it's like in real life.
It's like real life. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep, and everything
magic word.
Yeah, everything Delta says is correct, and I see now with multi-crew and now these more like detailed mechanics that they're bringing in, where at any time it seems like SIG's philosophy is any time a player can come and interrupt your life. They kind of have stated that, right? So yeah, so some other things, guys, before we move on. So. We spoke about the persistent hangers, not the personal hangers, and how they're kind of one to many hanger door relationship, which will be interesting. The magic door, if you like, and then a freight elevator that goes to this hangar, and you can put your own cargo on. I think I got this from the video. I can put my cargo onto the freight elevator, and then it can go to Ace's hangar, and we can put my cargo onto Ace's ship as well. So I can,
that's how I understood it.
Yeah. So that's again, that's that's where I get confused. Is that PvE cooperation? Like if we all do a logistics mission together, is that PvEing? I don't really know. It's all PvXing. You know what I mean? We're we're cooperating, but is PvP? I suppose PvP is always versing another player, not co-oping. But anyway,
philosophical question.
Yeah,
what's going to happen to that cargo when it's in that freight elevator or it's transferring to Ace's hangar when a 30K happens?
That's always the question. Yeah, it goes bye-bye.
And someone cries. That's how it works.
I can't wait till that happens. These things going to be oh man, could you imagine the whining and crying that's going to go on from that?
You're going to hear my voice in the crying. There's many. I've cried a many time. Another thing was like selling stuff was spoken about during the video, and the first step they alluded to was being able to sell ship components back to the back to the vendors, and then trading between players we spoke about, and then just to round off. Yep, go on.
You know where that's coming from, right? So in seeing that, it actually piqued an interest. So we're gonna have salvage. So let's say when you salvage, in theory, if you salvage and you're able to, as of right now, those entities, those pieces and parts, I'm assuming when you're salvaged, wonder if they're going to have, like, let's say a quality or a HP left on them, and they're only going to be, worth X amount when you do sell them back. But that's where that's coming from, in my opinion, because when you go out to salvage, are you going to be able to find an X1 drive and then pull that in, and that's worth X amount? I mean, I could see that playing into that aspect is salvage, if they allow us to acquire parts and pieces to that extent. Then they said something about the being able to other components and ammunition and whatnot. At what point is that coming in? is the question, because that becomes an issue too, being able to transfer that kind of stuff to other players. Have players jump in, oh, I need a gun. Well, that's easy, I can give you a gun, but I can't do anything about the ammunition. So being able to exchange those things are going to be good. But as far as salvage and acquiring things from broken ships, that would be interesting to see if that's the way they're going with that.
It's coming soonishly. The first implementation is, I think it's 3.16, so we should be hearing a little bit more about it soonishly.
The salvage could be very profitable if that's the case.
Absolutely, especially if you create your own salvage first and then salvage.
Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. No, just to round off some other important topics that were in the video. So we covered off physicalized cargo and persistent hangars. So another system that they're working on, which is not a surprise really, is procedurally generated NPCs.
Yeah.
Which kind of course they are, right? That's how you're going to populate the world, because the only other alternative is to handcraft every single NPC, which is going to take a lot of time. So they spoke about, you go into different areas and you will see some NPCs that are the same because they might work in the same factory. So you might see a bunch of engineers and you'll see shopkeepers and tourists and stuff. But then they went to the CIG fidelity stage where they're like, if you look at a tourist and that tourist comes from Delamar or whatever, he or she is going to have that genealogy. And I was like, that's just CIG, like going to that next level of, detail, which always blows my mind. So, yeah, procedurally generated NPCs.
Yeah, it's from what they were saying, it will work similar to the loot generation. Like, you'll have several tabs that will influence the way the character is created or the stuff you find in the box. It's a similar system, I'd say.
So that was pretty interesting. And finally, the last thing in this video that was interesting to me was just a reiteration of, they spoke about perks for reputation and mission rewards. And I think an armor set is going to be the first mission reward.
Cool.
And then they kind of reiterated, that the reputation system is going to be huge. It's going to be the basis of progression in this game. So that's going to continue to grow and improve and things like that. So that kind of
it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense with the reputation, since we don't have any leveling system as in any other games. It makes sense to have some sort of achievement you can actually achieve.
Yeah. For me, that I don't mind. I like open world sandboxes, but I love a purpose in the world, Ace. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
For me, if the reputation system for me is going to really make or break this thing for me. I love all the just going in there and doing random stuff with other players, and I'll continue to do so because I love flying in space and things like that. But the game will really pull me in if I feel like I'm, part of some lore and my character is alive and has a purpose apart from taking off and just attacking things, for no reason, like for my own ego's sake, and making a living and making allegiances, and a living and breathing sci-fi world is what I hope the reputation system sort of brings forth to my character. But
yeah, it adds a little level of role play that's definitely needed. Maybe not wanted by everybody, but let those who like it enjoy it. That's what I.
Yeah.
So I just had a thought, and it goes along with what we're talking about here. Gonna identify the fact that if they wanted to implement Death of a Spaceman and eliminate the idea of clones, if rep is going to be that important, okay, it's essentially like an XP bar, or in the previous game I played, when you died, you actually lost XP points on certain skills. It was randomly applied. So if you died, instead of having to have only so many clones, it would make more sense to be able to just lose rep And like Grand Theft Auto, when you die, you lose alpha UEC. I mean, it's theory crafted here, but I'm just throwing that out. If rep is going to be that important, I mean, if it's if you lose rep like or on your bounties, North Rock.
Well, with Death of a Spaceman, you kind of create. This is after your 3 deaths, right, or whatever. You create a new character that kind of looks like your previous character, and then you inherit some of the reputation, but most of the reputation, I believe, is gone. So the reputation system is still at heart of Death of a Spaceman. So
from what I understand on that, you start over completely,
or you start over, yeah,
completely.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind, actually. I mean, that's what makes the game way more interesting, because if you just can respawn a new character with like 10,000 AUEC less, there's nothing you fear losing.
Yeah, provided your reason for
the
death.
The economy's fucked, though. I mean, so not 10,000. I'd say 100,000, 500,000.
Whatever the amount. I mean, that doesn't even matter. It's
I don't know. For me, Death of a Spaceman is going to be what makes or breaks this game. That is going to be a hard thing to manage and balance, but that's besides the point. So let's move to the next video so we can knock that out.
All right.
Yeah. So the next video, guys, the second video was Player Slayer. Was the name of the video, and as the title alludes to it, was a PvP kind of video, it was interesting. So I'll go through some of the points quickly, just give you time, then maybe I'll throw it to you, So things that were spoken about were like, PvP data. I didn't really think of this, but PvP data I learned from the video, is very important to a developer. Like having 2 humans fight it out and collecting data from it feeds into their AI system, like how the AI will fight, right? And then again, like Delta had touched on PvE areas, if we have to call an area a PvE area, the way that the levers that Star Citizen have to pull is the policing side of things. So, Terra and Sol systems are going to be heavily policed, so they will be considered more PvE areas, because if you want to just wreak havoc there's going to be systems in place apparently to at least make your life uncomfortable. Not that it will ever be impossible, but so that was kind of spoken about. But at the same time, there's less rewards with less risk as well. So if you want to, make more money, then you better risk your behind in Pyro, for example, instead of in Stanton, right? So that was that. Then they spoke about development on Jumptown 2, an event has begun. It was interesting that we spoke about Jumptown last week, and Jumptown 2 is being worked on. And then they spoke about, they also had Firesprite, the other company that are working on Arena Commander, and there's going to be, if you like, the same maps, but they're new maps. And I play a lot of Arena Commander, so they're going to be like 10 times bigger. The maps are going to have distinct areas. For example, the Dying Sun map's going to have a full space station. It's going to have gas clouds. It's going to have an area with large asteroids. It's going to have an area with dense asteroids. So Arena Commander is getting a lot of love, which is awesome.
Yeah, the bit where they were saying that actually they need the player data to make the AI fight better was a really interesting point, and something I also hadn't thought about at all. Like, I wasn't even thinking about how they are developing the AI for combat, and then it got me thinking: is that the reason why they started space jousting lately? Because they use player data?
Oh dear. I hope not.
With PvP, think about how much it stresses out a system. This is one of the things that I have always known. PvP is your test bed for the mechanics of just moving your character. Like how these players are moving, what they're doing, when they're doing it. And then PvP players, more than any other player, is going to try to find whatever exploit they can and do things with things that are programmed in the game that the things were never intended to even fucking do. So, and think about the intensity that PvP is bringing, especially if you want to develop your NPCs to be more adaptive and resilient to player combat. When we're fighting, say, an NPC, it's constantly sending feedback on the back end that they can go back in and look at and see what we're doing, what strategies we're using, so they can tweak over a long period of time. You know, things like, for instance, if we didn't get into PvP, let's take, for instance, mining. Mining is the most flushed out gameplay loop in this game. It is because the population is substantially unbalanced to the highest weight of PvE players. Now, the NPCs are horrible in this game at fighting. We already know that because we don't have enough PvP players that are actually in the game fighting NPCs, because a lot of the PvP exposure I get are like the griefers that are in at PO, blockading, shooting players from a distance and blowing up their ships on a pad, which those types of people I just want to punch in the fucking mouth anyway. But if we're not PvPing, then we're not stressing the system out. If we're only doing, you know, Care Bear activity, then what are you really testing? All you're doing is just playing a loop and reporting, oh, I found a bug, I can't read this Quantanium rock, please fix it. But PvP is where you're getting the information, because it's constant computation and constant input, and how fast all that stuff is happening, how it's registering what your strategies are. So PvP is extremely important.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't realize. It dawned on me when I was watching these guys say it. Even the gentleman that was like, you know, of course he's got a developer's mindset. He was the guy that said, I think in the previous video or this video, he said that, you know, PvP gives them anxiety, which it does to some people, which is fine. But he was the main guy that said also, yeah, PvP is where we get all our data from, Delta. And I didn't realize that. You obviously already knew this, but yeah, I was like, of course, that is where the system gets stressed. Trying to
learn that on the last MMO I played.
Yeah, I kind of knew it too, but I didn't know it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's stuff you maybe know, but don't think about it. So it's one of those things.
It was interesting. He did also talk about the desync and the frame rate and all that stuff. He was like, there is a networking team or whatever that's working on that, but it's not going to stop us from continuing to make content and whatnot. So they kind of touched on the frustrations that we're feeling today. But yeah, is there anything more? I mean, what are your feelings on Jumptown 2? Are you guys, what do you think about a organic event that happened and now they're going to make it a in-game event?
It's going to be shit.
Okay, that's that vote. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think it's going to be shit. I'll tell you why I think it's going to be shit.
Okay,
because you're trying to recreate an organic event. The only thing you can do is create a generic circumstance. So now you're putting parameters around something that happened organically that the players enjoyed. So now you're going to put parameters in a certain amount of time. And I think he said it's going to be a few hours, and that's verbatim. Those were his words. This is shit that went on for months in IRL, like in-game IRL months. Now you're only going to introduce it as a dynamic event because players really enjoyed that, and we just sat back and watched until we could fix the situation, and they really enjoyed that. But we're gonna make it a couple of hours. Man, ain't nobody gonna want to fucking do that for a couple hours. Like, you can't recreate an organic event. The only thing at Jumptown 2.0 is not, it wasn't even yours to begin to fucking call it 2.0. I mean, it was organic. It happened. It's gone. Y'all shut down the ability to recreate it. Like, if you really wanted to recreate it, don't say shit. Don't advertise it. Don't send out no damn comm link. Just put in randomly a location in the game that is highly profitable. Again, the same way, and fucking sit back and watch and let it happen organically. Don't damn recreate it. I think that's the most basic shit you can do as a damn developer, is try to recreate a player created organic event. You just fucking completely undermined the whole idea of Jumptown by doing that. That shit actually pissed me off when I found that out. And I will not be participating in that at all, because they're going to put parameters and certain times around it. Man, fuck that. No. If you want to recreate it, put a location in the game randomly. Let players find it on their own accord, and then sit back and watch.
Yep. Okay. Ace, what about you, man? When you heard about Jumpdown 2, did that excite you, or were you meh?
Well, initially I was excited, but I needed a second to process what Delta just said. I mean, you got a point there with the organic thing. Like, I don't know how they want to recreate the organic feel of it, but I'll totally give it a try just to see what it is.
There's no way. They're not going to be able to recreate an organic event. Organic is the fact that it happened naturally and occurred by just the way the players moved and decided to independently do, with no parameters set around it. It was player created content, and now they have just taken that from the players by trying to put it back in, because everybody has nostalgia and we all experience this. You'll never experience it the same. I mean, now they completely have fucked Jumptown. And if they really want my advice, the best way to go about doing that, put a random location in the game. Don't advertise it. Don't talk about it. Don't put it on Star Citizen Live. Don't put it on Inside Star Citizen. Keep that motherfucker locked down to the point that nobody is leaking that information, and then watch and see. It might take 6 months. It might take a year. It may take 3 seconds for it to be found once it's in, but let it happen organically. Don't put parameters around something and try to imitate and copy something that players created. Like, just by you doing that, you might as well consider yourself fucking China knocking off damn name brands.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a valid point, Delta. That's definitely a valid point. My when I heard Jumpdown 2, I was a bit disappointed, because I thought it was a little bit lacked creativity. From their part.
Absolutely.
So they could have. I want events in there, but I didn't want, Jumpdown 2.0. I think that's kind of a bit. I found it a bit lame.
As fuck.
I found it lame.
Yep.
I found it uninspiring. Like, you got all these stories that you can tell. Man, pick another story. It could be drugs, it could be whatever, but just pick another story and another area. And if you want to copy Jumpdown or whatever happened there, like, learn the lessons from it. That's fine. Use the lessons from it, even that's fine. But don't then call it Jumpdown 2.0 and have the same kind of things, because it won't be 2.0 of Jumpdown. I agree with that. I think having a time limit is kind of like in the past, when it was happening, it was constantly in the background. So when you even before you logged in, you could speak to 2 or 3 guys and say, "Hey man, are you up for going to Jumptown today? You bring this ship, you bring that ship. Let's prepare, right? Let's have a plan. Let's prepare. Let's go down." Now it's going to be, I'm going to be flying, I'm going to be mining or something, and then this mission will pop up saying Jumpdown's open for business or whatever it's going to be, and then I'm going to scramble around and rush there or something. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I don't think it'll capture the same magic. It'll capture some magic. I think they'll bring some PvP players together, and there might be some action, but I just wish it wasn't Jumpdown 2. I wish it was something else, like, I don't know, something else. Yeah, I found that a little bit uninspiring, but anyway.
Basic as fuck. That's what that is. That's basic as fuck, lacking creativity, and I'm trying to hijack something that players created, and they have just taken that from the players now. They literally, and understand that. I mean, you guys know I get very passionate about the things that I am passionate about, and I was extremely inspired last week in our podcast where we had to research. It was the most interesting thing that we have researched so far to me, because players created it and it happened organically.
Yeah.
Organically. There was nothing planned. It was something that accidentally got, set in the game, and it was obviously disproportionate amount of money to be made, and that was unacceptable. But now they're trying to recreate it as it's going to be generic, and the fact that they even are calling it Jumptown 2.0, like they were responsible for 1.0. Man, I don't know. Honestly, it's got me shitting as fuck, and there's that extreme lack of creativity and trying to recreate something that was the players, and you've just taken that from them.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's the Player Slayer, and that was all the videos of last week. Time for SHIPtalk.
All right, guys, in this segment, we're going to move into SHIPtalk. Are you a SHIPtalker?
Let's talk some ship.
Let's go.
So we're going to talk about the Anvil Crucible.
Cool.
Okay. Do either of you guys have the ship?
No.
Nope.
No?
But I'm considering getting one.
Consider.
Every bloody ship that you guys drag me into researching, I'm like, maybe I should get this one too.
Yeah, that's the problem with Star Citizen, right?
Maybe I should repair ships.
No, yeah, maybe you should either grind in game, get more money, or start taking your paycheck and purchasing this shit.
The Anvil Crucible. Go on, Delta.
All right. So this one actually is going to be the Flying Toolbox is nickname. So essentially, this is your mobile garage.
Yeah.
And Ace, you actually said that this is one of the loops that you're actually interested outside of having your habitation creation. What interests you about this ship the most, Ace? Because I know you're passionate about this stuff like
Well,
this.
it gives you lots of opportunities. Like you leave that one outside of range of battles that are happening. You take your arrow out, go into battle. Make sure you don't blow up. Fly back, repair, refuel, restock. Especially now with the limited ammo count, I think ships like those can be like really interesting and effectively used in several situations.
Dude, what
Yeah,
about in Pyro, eh? Like without
Absolutely, man.
the space stations, like this would be a
Exactly.
gold.
Okay, and you this right here, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the video, the PU team. I feel much better. I got really shitting last week when we were talking. I guess I get really shitting about a lot of things, but this ship, along with which one's the refueling ship? I
The
always
Starfarer.
Starfarer.
Okay, okay. I always fuck it up and want to say Star Runner, but Starfarer. So you take the Starfarer, you take the Crucible, and you add it into your fleet. You go to Pyro, so now you can refuel and you can repair ships. So my question is, when this is instituted, and these two loops are flushed out, will we be able to just? Of course, we'll be able to refuel and repair our own ships and our org ships or our friend ships. But when we go to Pyro, now it's introducing the ability to control certain areas. Like, we're going to stay in this area, we'll refuel, repair, or we'll jump around and we'll repair and refuel for X amount. And then once that amount is figured out, this right here is introducing a loop for economy, especially in Pyro. That's going to be a huge benefit because now you won't have to go to a port to fix your ship, and you won't have to go to a port to repair your ship. To refuel your ship. Yep. So now the Crucible, I can see where it, and the concept is actually complete. Ace, do you know actually when this thing is going to launch? Because I know
No
you've
idea.
had more interest in
It's
it
not
than
on the
anybody else.
it's not on the roadmap, so no idea when.
Yeah, I didn't see it anywhere. I was just making sure. I know you had more information on it.
Unfortunately, I don't. And there's another repair and refuel ship, like a little frontier jumper. I think it's called the Vulcan, like Spock, but with a
Yep.
K.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
So
Anyway, yeah,
yep.
Crucible. Yeah, it's I like the shape and the concept of it, how it's built up. Like it's got those two long prongs coming out of the back, and basically the whole workshop section folds out.
Yep.
Yep.
At least that's what it looked like from the concepts, and you can then rotate the upper bridge or something like that. That looked really interesting.
So
and,
let's look at the size,
Wow.
though. That's going to be what's going to be.
It's pretty big.
It's 90 meters length. I've got some stats written down. So it's 90 meters
cool.
long, which is almost a football field here in Australia. I think the Javelin was 480 meters long. So it's 50 meters wide. It's got mainly large ship components. So it kind of means it's just a large ship category, except for the computers. Computers were, I think, small and medium. Defense-wise, it's got a turret on top of the bridge and one below. I think they're size 4 turrets. It's got a crew of 3 to 8 people, and it's got, most importantly, it's got 6 utility hardpoints, which I'm pretty sure would be the like repairing heads and things like that, tractor beams and repair heads or whatever. So yeah, really interesting ship. I mean, yeah. You're going to be controlling. It's going to be a mandatory support ship if you want to control a sector of space for sure.
So my question is, so the cargo space we're looking at 230 SCUs, and my question is, if it's a large ship, let's say the largest player-owned ship in the game is going to be the Javelin, right?
I think so. Yep.
Okay. How many crucibles does it take to repair a Javelin?
You can't. It's got like a little hangar in the back, and you're supposed to land a small fighter. It's not intended for repairs of bigger ships or stuff that doesn't actually fit into the hangar. For that,
whatever fits in.
Ships with repair drones.
Okay, it's a repair ship. Okay, hear me out. That was a philosophical question. Now you can't, based on the information that you've provided and the concepts that we're currently looking at. But if you look at the concept, it looks like that area where you land a small fighter, say, it doesn't stay that way the whole entire time because it folds out and it retracts, or however they're going to figure that out. So otherwise you have those two forks essentially that stick out. Why would we not, in theory, be able to repair certain, especially when physicalized damage comes in? Why would we not be able to take 10 of these and fly around this physicalized damage on an Idris and fix it while we are in space? I would think it would just take more.
I think it depends on, like, the utility hard points, right, with the repair head. It depends how that's positioned and where it's pointing. You know what I mean, bro? So at the moment, it's all in a garage type sort of landing pad. It's all pointing inwards, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So something lands in the middle, and then these arms come out and repair it from the side. So you can't get to any part of a large capital ship where they're currently positioned. I get what you're saying, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we just need longer tentacles on the sides.
Yeah, you need an octopus on the sides. Exactly.
Yeah, the Vulcan, for example, instead of using arms, has repair drones.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's repairing big ships is where I assume all the big drones come in. Like
like heaps of Vulcans, like floating around a Javelin with drones. Each Vulcan.
Is the Vulcan larger than this?
No, I think it's smaller.
No, it's actually quite small. It's supposed to be a frontline repair ship. Like
Yeah, so this thing is still, the concept is complete, but I was just throwing that out there. It'd be interesting to be able to have a ship to where we can do when, and it would only work when we have physicalized damage. You know, you got physicalized damage to a certain part of the ship that's destroyed. If you have something that is, say, a mobile garage, in theory, they would have everything or certain amount of things to repair certain areas that are damaged physically. Um, so a
because
little disappointed. How large of a ship can we repair with this? Then is the question.
fighters, it's intended for
Only
small
fighters.
fighters, well, or anything else that fits in the hangar, basically. But you'll be limited to mostly fighters and small time ships. I don't think the Prospector will even fit. Didn't look.
Yeah, I don't see a measurement for that
The bay.
There's
garage
some
space.
picture with I think it's an arrow,
Right.
but I'm not even sure it was an arrow. Might have been a gladius in the
So we're
repairs.
looking at only small fighters because there's no other information that says specifically what it is.
Well, another thing we have to
to
think
repair.
about is like that they were adding drones to several ships. It's not only the Vulcan that has drones. There's also the Carrack that has drones. I don't know if you will be able to exchange the drones for, like, instead of having a science or combat drone in there, to have like dedicated repair drones. That would also be an option.
So guys, this ship right here, as far as the idea of it and when it is implemented in the game, for what we have come to agree on with limited information, is probably that it's going to only allow small fighters. Hell, you probably wouldn't even be able to get a Vanguard on this thing from the way I'm looking at it.
Probably not.
Maybe you might be able to squeeze it in. Maybe.
Anyways,
So there is a drone operations center on it, according to the ship
Oh, well.
matrix. So
Yeah,
that's
it is
good.
a drone.
Yeah,
well, there you got the repairs for bigger ships.
there you go.
So the concept is complete, but we have limited information on the ship. However, the idea and the getting the information out to the citizens, it was a phenomenal idea, because stuff like this is going to affect plans for future gameplay. Like, for instance, when I go back to my org, I'm gonna be like, guys, you know, here's a loop we could create and pyro when it comes in, so then other plans could be made to surround that, to prepare for the introduction of pyro. So having a ship like this is necessary. Having a Starfarer is necessary. Then you go with that.
Yeah, there's a Hornet. There's a picture of a Hornet here that I can see. That's in it. So that's still that's a medium-sized fighter at least. So I'm just trolling through some concept art here. But it's got a very circular, like, cockpit bridge. I don't know if you guys have noticed. It's a very it's like a disc.
As far as I know, it's supposed to be like able to turn around 360 degrees, so you can actually see into the back.
So the view is going to be outstanding when you're standing on the bridge and you're seeing this thing getting repaired below you, like bzz, all the sparks flying and stuff. That'll be a sight to behold. And I've also noticed that it's VTOL. I think it's VTOL. I think I'm seeing some images here of the side thrusters pointing down, which makes sense. You want it to be, I don't know, if you're in atmosphere or something, you want it to stabilize so that your repairs go well. So yeah, just some more interesting facts.
You do want a precision landing. And to confirm what you just said, it is absolutely VTOL, because you have the one concept art that has it in VTOL, and then you have where they have painted it and have the structure of the model with the VTOL turned.
Yeah.
So again, so it is absolutely VTOL, which makes sense.
I wish we could.
Makes absolute sense.
We should look at maybe getting some maybe my computer screen or something on future podcasts. But there's a picture here of the bridge and the view. There is a view of a Hornet below him getting repaired, which looks awesome.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, this ship, I think, is unanimous. We all are very intrigued with this. I would absolutely own several at this point.
Nice. The Crucible, the Anvil Crucible.
Anvil Crucible, your mobile repair ship for maybe medium fighters, but certainly light fighters. Larger ships and heavy fighters are in question.
You might actually be able to fit a Hurricane in there.
I think you will. I reckon they'll do it with fighters, all fighters, because if it's going to be so niche, it doesn't make sense. Then unless they bring it, I think all fighters, but no medium ships maybe and bigger. They'll cut it off at there maybe. I don't know.
Which is fair. I mean,
yeah. You can only make a garage so big.
Yeah, the other thing is if you really need to repair a medium or a big ship, it doesn't make sense that it's done at the front line. It wouldn't be done in the front line in real life. It would be going back to the dry docks or whatever and be fixed there.
Yeah. However, you could have a mobile unit just repair to a certain extent the damage. Maybe not 100%, obviously. That would, talking about fidelity, that would compromise fidelity. But if you physicalize damage and you got 60% HP on this section of the ship, and you can only add back 25% to 85%, but not all the way to 100, at least your ship has the ability to get back to the dock as opposed to blowing up on the way there because you got attacked again. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe that's where the drones come in. Maybe the drones.
What I was going to say. That's what I assume the drones will be doing because they already said they want to move away from the whole poof explosions and deactivate ships rather than having them explode. And you will need repairs in that case. So yeah, drones will be able to repair. Obviously, you won't be able to carry like 500 SCU of raw materials and armor plating and cables and whatnot, everything that has to be replaced on a ship. So yeah, you'll only get them back to a basic working level so they can get back to a real port and have actual repairs done with all the fancy they need for them. That's how I picture it, at least. I mean,
that'd be so cool, Ace. You just if the ship actually uses a material to repair with, that would be awesome.
I think that's the way they're going because of what they said about the whole salvage thing.
So good.
You will be salvaging, but it's not only the components you take out, you'll also get stuff like scrap metal. Yeah. And you can recycle that in different ways, apparently, later.
I would just love a Crucible pilot saying like, guys, I've run out of raw materials. I need a Caterpillar or whatever to come and transfer some aluminium or whatever into my storage so I can continue to repair. That would be such a cool game loop as well. Logistics everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean that would bring some PvE content in, like with a really easy thing. Like they don't have to create a whole event apart from it. You just need the raw materials, so have them shipped to you.
Yeah,
interesting.
Cool.
All right, guys. So I think that sums that up. Actually, Ace, that was a ship you selected. That was a really good idea, especially with one that's still in concept because we kind of got to play with Theorycraft there. I'd love to see what that's going to be eventually. However, it's definitely a ship. Especially if you're an org leader, you're going to need a couple of these in your fleet to eliminate unnecessary gameplay flying back to a port for light fighters, apparently. So, if you guys have nothing else, we're going to shift on into scripted lore.
Let's go.
What's the topic?
So, due to current events, we decided to talk about Xenothreat. Who, where, when, what, why? Who are the guys? Where came they from? Where did they came from? What's their motivation? And the first time we heard about them, it was a system hack. I don't know if you remember it. It was like on every screen in Stanton. There was a glitched message you could hear.
Yep, I heard the audio port O. I think.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because even if you were standing in the subway in New Babbage, every now and then it would glitch out the Whammers ads, and you'd have the Xenothreat video running there.
Oh, I didn't know that, dude. I just thought it was audio.
Was correct. No, it was not.
Man. That's so cool. I remember the first time I heard that radio announcement, and me and my friends were like, oh, the Vandul are attacking. Like, we didn't know what it was, right? We're like, Porto's going to blow up. Vandul are attacking. Like, we're all just, like, theory crafting.
Yeah, we were the same. I mean, you hear Xenothreat, it sounds like a Xenothreat.
Yeah.
And not a terrorist group that just hates everything non-human and corporations.
Cerberus.
So I didn't get to experience the first one, and so I'm not quite familiar with the actual in-game aspect of it.
Yeah.
Well, they tied the lore to the in-game event pretty much, because the first thing that happened was that that Xenothreat stopped the convoy and pretty much destroyed it, and then publicly executed all the people who worked in that convoy because they were considered collaborators of what's it called, of the greedy corporations, basically.
Yeah, corporate government, the kind of anti-government, anti-corporate group that hate aliens. They hate aliens.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then there was sorry to cut you off there, Ace. There was an agreement between the Xi'an and the humans, a trade agreement that happened recently, and that kind of angered them more, if you like.
Yeah, that's what spawned their attack on Stanton, and they were they are the running force in Pyro. That's another thing to mention, maybe, that they pretty much own the place.
Yeah.
At least at the moment, they are the gang with the most influence there, if you want. And they had enough influence to launch a full-blown attack versus Stanton, while the Javelin in that system was being repaired and refueled and refurbished in a station called Jericho. Yeah, Xenothreat came in and started attacking that Javelin. So what the player population was supposed to do was go and aid in the supply, because Xenothreat had cut off all the supply ships and blown them up, or at least deactivated them. They were still floating about in space, so you had to fly there and grab the stuff and put it onto your ship, get it to the Jeff, and make sure they could continue repairs.
Yeah.
So that was during phase 2 of the event. Yeah, you were gonna ask something. Say something.
The message that Xenothreat sent out, it actually sounded a lot like it reminded me of Anon IRL. It was almost like a Anon message, because it says, "Attention, people of Stanton. A great injustice has been done to you for decades. The spineless bureaucrats of your government have been selling you and your fellow citizens piece by piece to alien scum outside of our borders and to their corporate masters within. Their greed only matched by the absolute disregard for the values that made humanity great in the first place. My brothers and sisters have watched them feed on the dying carcass of the empire for long enough. With the passage of the human Xi'an trade initiative, it's clear the government is happy to sell the final parts of humanity into servitude. The time has come to send a message that we will not consume their lives anymore, that we are the ones in charge. Stanton will be the first step in a revolution to take back the soul of the empire. You will be witnesses. We are Xenothreat. Out."
Yeah. That's
pretty impressive speech. Yeah, I mean,
so they must so they live in Pyro, which is next door to Stanton. They live in they live in Ruin Station. Is like the headquarters. So, I mean, if hopefully one day Pyro does come out, we will get to, I don't know, that'll be awesome. We get to go and see Ruin Station, and how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, do they interrogate you, or I don't know? It'd be interesting to see how it works.
Well, I guess that's another point where rep comes in again.
Yes. Yes, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
You fought on the side of Xenothreat during the event. Good. Okay, here you got some reputation. You're allowed to land on our station and refuel. You didn't. You fought against us. Well, guess what? We start opening fire. Fuck it.
Yeah.
That's how I picture it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, their philosophy outside. I mean, I'm not a xenophobe, so I don't hate aliens just because they're aliens. But I am absolutely anti-corporate ideology. You know, I definitely run with that.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing with Xenothreat because some of the things they say, my character can absolutely get behind. Other things like the xenophobia is like, but I like the Banu. They're cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's like it depends what their actions are like. Like a lot of this type of groups would say something that's quite noble, and you're like, wow, I can really relate to that. Like some revolutionaries, governments, everyone. I'm not on any fence here. I'm just saying, even government will say something noble to you about to go to war. You're saving our freedoms and yada yada yada, and then you go to this war and you're like dropping bombs on a village where the guys are like living in
a daycare
mud huts or something, and you're like, how am I defending my family here? You know, I'm on the other side of the world. These guys are starving to death and we're wiping them out. Or a revolutionary that says we want to give you freedom, this, that, and the other, and then we got to kill a few innocent people to get that, you know. And I'm going to decide which innocent people. Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, you totally have a point. Actions speak louder than words, and their first action was to stop a civilian convoy. It wasn't even like a military thing.
Yeah.
And kill everybody involved and execute them publicly because of collaboration. So yeah, you make of what you want. I mean, what they say sounds nice to a certain degree because of the whole anti-corporate thing, but in the end, it just feels like it's another terror organization who's only got their own benefits in mind.
So we'll see more of an emphasis of Xenothreat in the overall universe of Star Citizen when Pyro opens.
Yeah.
Because considering that they're a human outlaw group from Pyro, that is where we'll start seeing more influence from them. Especially, it won't just be an event anymore. We'll actually be able to do missions for them and whatnot. So, I mean, my personal opinion, like you said, Ace and Moz, you know, you could relate to certain things, and I definitely can relate to the anti-corrupt UEE or an anti-corporate ideology. I mean, some of those corporations though aren't bad. Like Microtech's pretty cool. Hurston, I would definitely, on the surface. But Hurston, absolutely, they on my shit list as high as UE. So, I don't know. As far as the alien situation, I mean, you can't just be a xenophobe just to be a xenophobe. So you see a lot of very conservative ideologies breeding and brewing here, to the extent that there's zealots and refuse to have any conversation about melding and integration of alien species into humanity. And that's typical of a hardcore far right ideology. You know, we're not even willing to compromise whatsoever. Can't get behind that. Won't get behind it. So I could see where Xenothreat and the Order of Zion would go head to head sometimes, and probably we would be able to work together other times.
Apparently, they're all ex-military, from what I gather, or some of them at least.
And they have Idrises. They have Idrises.
Yeah. Exactly, and they know how to operate them. What also requires some degree of military training. I mean, you can't just go fly an Idris by yourself and with a few buddies of yours. Like, look, come on, let's go. To use it effectively in combat, which they did actually.
Yeah, compile the former corrupt UEE military members, but I didn't know that there was anything different than corrupt UEE military members. So.
There you go.
That's a different discussion. You were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, like, the people I think that would be scared of them the most, it won't be the Banu, it won't be the Xi'an, it definitely won't be the Vandal. They don't care. The Tavaran that are like within like we've conquered the Tavaran and they live in amongst us. They must be scared whenever they hear of Xenothreat and whether or not the influence of Xenothreat is growing or not, because they're helpless. They live in amongst us. They're like a conquered race. They're one of my interesting threads in all of this in Star Citizen, is there'd be so many wonderful stories of Tavarans either, plotting rebellions against humans or I don't know, giving inside information to the Vandal or trying to, whatever. There'll be a million stories I'm sure that CIG will come up with, but yeah, they would be afraid of the Xenothreat, I would imagine.
So, I mean,
the civilian could be afraid of them because in the end, those people fuck with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I do have to say this. This section, this lure section, has actually increased my level of involvement with this game overall.
Oh, good.
Because now that we have actually dove into the lure and researching things, I think it's actually made my gameplay more immersive. Because oftentimes when I'm training new players, and they're talking about, certain practical aspects of the game, I find myself being a fanboy and for some reason alluding to, well, I don't know if that will work because in the lure, I'm getting to that point now.
Yeah.
It's made the gameplay experience even more in depth and more immersive for me. So I'm actually glad that when we all met in the beginning before we even started the show, all three of us unanimously agreed that we had to have a lure section, but it's actually making my gameplay more involved into the overall idea of Star Citizen. Lure is essential for sure.
Totally get that. I mean, it makes a difference between having a story and an event and a thing happening in your game life to clicking some pixels and waiting till they change into other pixels that look exploding. It's a big difference, man.
Yeah.
And the whole lore is important. I mean, there might be people who don't like it or were absolutely not interested in it, but
it's just funny, man, because some when I'm raising hell in game, like I do on the show, say Hurston Security, for instance, attack me, and I'll be like, "That's why your fucking corporation just sucks ass. You consuming the environment and working people to death. Goddamn, making voluntary slaves." And then there's like crickets in the voice channel, and they're like, "Well, goddamn, Delta."
All right, let's go to open mic.
Welcome, citizens, to Open Mic, where each one of us get to say whatever we want about anything we want. I typically go last because I get very passionate, and I usually wind up having an attitude by the end of the show. So, guys, Moz, what's your topic for this week?
It's just a question. I wanted to throw to you guys, so it won't take too long. So, it's two questions. First question is, if CIG had the technology to build the game so that you could, like in other MMOs, choose an alien race and start off in that area, I'm just fantasizing here, I know, would you like that? Is the first question. And the second question, or do you still want to keep everyone human beings and we're all humans and we all start off in the UEE or human empire? Second question is, if the answer is yes, you would like to choose an alien race, which alien race would you choose and commit to and spawn as? So over to you, Ace.
Okay, that's really interesting, but long answer. Long answer. I got to give you to your question yet.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, well, I think it would be cool for players to be able to play aliens. However, given how deep the lore goes and how complex all the other systems is they set in place, like they develop the Banu language and the Xian language, and you can actually learn them. I don't think everybody should be allowed to play them. Like, it would ruin the immersion to a certain degree. I don't know, like make people pass a test or something.
Ah, I
Like,
see where you're going.
and
Okay.
then give them the opportunity to play them, because otherwise it would just break immersion to some degree.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if you manage to pass all these little steps you need to achieve,
Legendary.
it's a big reward.
Yeah.
I actually do like that idea.
Wow, you got to do a
thumbs up on that.
Banu language test exam. Oh my god.
Yeah, why not? I mean, most people don't even know how to say hello in Xi'an, but want to play a Xi'an in a Xi'an ship. No, that doesn't work,
Still
man.
struggle pronouncing the fucking name for it.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's
okay.
I think it would ruin it to some degrees for other players, especially if once you get to actually talk in the game more than it's done now. Right now, most people just use Discord and talks in between each other, but once meshing is in and the whole interaction with other people really starts, I mean, yeah, it would be cool to play aliens. Of course it would be, but
yeah,
I don't want.
No, that's a different take. I like that. That's a different take. So the answer is yes, but with certain kind of limitations, and you got to kind of not break immersion and show a lot of dedication to that culture. That's awesome, man. And so, which race would you do if you had the motive? Like what race would you start off with?
Wow, that's complicated because well, I think I'd pick a Xi'an. Just because I like the idea about their ability to slow down the metabolisms and stuff, and like live for longer periods of time and experience life in a different fashion. So that would be interesting, I guess. But I'm not committed enough, so I wouldn't play one.
Yeah.
Like my Xi'an is really rudimentary. I know how to say cool and good day, and that's it. So
nice, man.
That won't get me far.
What about you, Delta? Would you like the option, if it could be done, to start?
Absolutely fucking not, because I don't want to take tests and shit.
No, that's Ace's thing. You don't have to take that. You can live in my comfortable world where you just select it on a main menu.
Yes. Yeah. Still no. So any type of MMO I've ever played, I always play a human. And then I always play a human, and I always make the human look exactly like me. And I've had this debate with other people, like, oh no, you want to be some. Listen, I'm fucking completely fine with who I am. Like, I love myself. Am I conceited? No. But I have no insecurities about myself, and I don't want to be anybody else. Yeah. So I do, when I get in game, I create my character. It looks very similar to me. Unfortunately, CIG cannot create beards. Like, they're just not capable of creating beards for our character. I don't think they can't do it. No, I'm challenging them. They can't do it. They don't know how to. So anyway. So I always play a human in any MMO I play, because it's me, not even vicarious, to a degree, living vicariously through the character in game, because the way I play in game is how I would be in real life, unabated. Yeah. And with no parameters put on me, with rule of law and social constraints. So that's the way I roll, and I have no interest in staring at a fucking alien or a hobbit or a dwarf for 10, 12 hours for a gameplay, whatever. I just rather, I'm looking at the character. This is me. I don't want to be an alien. I don't want to be a hobbit. I don't want to be a dwarf or a wizard, whatever, an elf.
I got you.
I can totally understand that.
I got you, man.
I want to be me and have a space adventure.
Okay, we're polar opposites on that thing. So I want to play a game to be and feel and smell and taste something totally different. So I would love, but having said that, I think my first thing would be a Tavaran in the UEE. just to look different. And then if I had a second choice, I would go all the way to the other side and be a Vandal. I would love to walk around on a Vandal ship, hear them speak that way. Oh, I would love that. Yeah. But anyway, that's my open mic. It was just a question for you guys.
All right, Ace. What you got, Ace?
Yeah, actually, it tied right into this. I wanted to talk a little bit about the languages and how elaborate that actually is. I've only checked a little bit out of it. There's this Xi'an language guide, and there's a very dedicated little community on Spectrum, and they also have a Discord server. I wanted to talk about how the implementation of that into the game will influence our gameplay in the future, because once they add in Xi'an or Banu-Ran systems, all the writing won't be in standard Earth letters or like Roman letters. You won't be able to read it. You'll probably have to learn certain amount of words to be able to even navigate those spaces, which would be cool. Like I wouldn't want it to be too easy for us to just like fly into the system and be able to just do everything. If you want to understand what you're doing, you have to understand what you're doing.
That'd be cool, man. For a guy
yeah, it might be annoying in the end. But
it might be annoying, but that would be cool. That would be like, I can see CIG doing that, man. They'll be like, here is a Xi'an system, and then one of the questions would be from feedback would be like, wait a second, all the signs are in Xi'an. How are we going to find our way? And the developer will smile and say, hire a translator. Find someone on the server that can speak Xi'an.
Would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the fact that players have done that, and CIG has supported it, where we have a whole dialect and language created, rather, for alien species in this game, because it's another one of those things that's cumulative. Little by little, it's building over a period of time. You take this aspect of lure, I guess it'd probably be more or less in that section, and then you're adding that to the game as it's developing. Then the game is developing with little small incremental processes, and everything's getting more immersive. The whole entire game, the whole idea, the community, the culture of Star Citizen starts to grow as well and expands out. There is a lot of shit to research in this game. Not just, the gameplay, the loops, the organizations that are being created, the personalities of organizations that we will all see evolve as, the game develops itself. And once we're able to play with more players than 50 players on a server, it's going to increase there. Once we get that, holy grail server meshing, that is when it's exponentially going to change. But you have been the one that has been a substantial proponent and the individual who's interested the most in the languages, because I never even knew that until you brought it up.
Yeah, as I said, I looked into it, but I haven't had the time to invest to really learn, because it's actually really well developed. It's a whole guide. I mean, they maybe don't have the full vocabulary yet, but it's able to have a conversation in that language if you actually engage and learn.
Do we know? Is the Banu language done, or is it just the Xi'an, or is it?
As far as I know, both are being worked on, but Xi'an is a little bit more advanced from the level they are on right now.
Yeah.
But stuff gets added.
Yeah.
And they keep adding.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not the most informed on the topic. I was just fascinated that it exists in itself, and I started to dabble a little bit in it, but I forgot how to read the first few letters I learned, and writing them is even more complicated.
And much respect to that small community of hardcore SC players that like have learnt the language, man. Like that is
Absolutely.
so commendable. Massive shout out to them.
We love you guys.
Yeah. Talk about
All right.
passion. All right, Delta. What's up, mate? Tell us.
So mine is it's more of a philosophical idea posed in the form of a question. What does your gameplay look like when server meshing is actually instituted? So once we get that, what are you going to do when the war starts?
Something involving a lot of people and a lot of big ships. That's pretty much my goal, I guess, because that's the one thing we're kind of missing out right now. Because we have that 50 people cap. I just imagine a space battle with like 300 ships involved. Man, can you imagine how that fucking looks like? Lasers everywhere, explosions left and right.
I can't even imagine it because their servers aren't going to handle it. So CIG, don't release server meshing until you get your servers straight.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, so massive space battles for Ace.
Absolutely, I need those.
For me, man, and this is where this is where I imagine the skeleton crew to be. We're like that little parasite under the shark. You know those little parasite fish that swim under the shark? That's us. So we're going to be watching this huge battles raging, and we'll be like, where can we make the most amount of money? Over there, or over there, or over there, or who wants some information? So we're data running. I can imagine myself doing, and running like economic hubs, like a Kraken privateer, business stuff. To answer your question, with a bit of, there's going to be combat, no doubt, but business stuff. Delta, yourself?
Yeah, as far as me, okay. So let me preface this whole entire spiel I'm about to give with the fact that it is coming. So everyone get prepared that when server meshing comes, and I in my opinion, based on what I've experienced so far with CIG and where I see things going, server meshing is not going to be implemented for about 2 years. Once it is fully implemented, they're going to struggle with it for probably about 2 months because, they can't even run a patch without it screwing up a 50-player server. And you can't even put, 2 fully crewed hammerheads on a server without it forcing it to 30K. Because I thought that was coincidental that we finally got the hammerhead crewed and it crashed. So anyway, it's coming. Like it happens in every MMO when especially if you get a server wipe, you're in game, everybody's jumping in, we're all playing together, our orgs or guilds are building our bases, our areas. We find areas that we want to influence, then that starts to rub against the area of influence of another org. So then the friction starts to happen. The friction sparks, explodes. That explosion just turns out to be one massive global war until skirmishes determine who's going to control the certain areas. Then it starts to be more centralized to where from the outskirts in, it starts to go more centralized till you have a fucking war that's lasts like 3 months and it's still going till the last 2 or 3 standing decide to have a diplomatic meeting and divide certain things up. It's coming. It happens in every single MMO. And any player that I've ever talked to or discussed with about this item of issue that's coming always agrees, especially if they were PvP players. Like, yeah, that always happens. I don't understand why anybody would think any different. But it's the PvE players that are real naive to think that Arena Commander and Star Marine and unlawful systems are going to divert that activity, say in Stanton or any other area that's really controlled by the UEE, is coming. Like, players are going to go to war, and the largest orgs and the most tactful orgs, because it's not necessarily that you have to be a large org to win a battle or a large guild, but it's coming, and those PvE players are going to wind up having to join orgs that have defense or hire a merc org. So it's coming. Now, as far as to answer your question, or my question about what am I going to be doing, I'm dabbling in a coalition. Not quite really sure where that's going to go overall, but my org is getting capped at 50 players. I'm not putting any more than 50 players in my org. I'm going to build it up. I mean, our Discord has 160 people, and 11 of them are in the org. So I'm very picky about who I put in the org. And when I get the 50 players, I'm going to start turning that magnifying glass back onto the players and eliminating the ones that I don't think is worthy to stay. Because, you have players that don't log in for a week, or you have players that just don't have the right attitudes. Because at that point in time, I'll start getting applications in, then a waiting list to get into the org. So now I can make it more competitive. But I want to have an elite group. That's what I want. I want an elite group of PvE and PvP players, so we can survive this. And having a smaller org like that, being specialized as far as specific elite players, and then being a multi-spec org, diving into everything, our plan of survival will naturally be having friends in the right places.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for that to happen.
That happens, your answer in a long-about way was more admin.
Oh, yeah. It always is.
You got it there.
It always is, man. It always is. It's always more admin.
Growing the org, and which is wonderful, man. As an org leader, you're doing all the right stuff, but it was more admin.
It's always more admin, man. I put more time in admin work than I do the actual game. No shit. That happens in every MMO I play. That's the routine, the cycle.
Yeah. Cool, man. And
that's it. That's it for open mic.
If
we don't have nothing else.
Yep.
Do we have any questions this week? Anyone that we need to run through?
Nah, we don't have any questions. No questions.
All right. Well, that wraps up episode 8, guys. Thank you all for joining us tonight. For all our social links, look below. Instagram, Twitter, Gmail. Hit us up at thecitizenfeed@gmail.com. Guys, please send us some questions. Ask us anything. We'll be more than happy to give our opinions. And we appreciate the support and interaction, guys. And help us reach more of the community by hitting that like button and smashing that notification bell, guys. And thank you for joining us. This is the Citizen Feed.
Later, guys.